So I just want to say welcome to the Casa Kayam podcast. I'm the host for this episode, Tristan Cox. Good to be here. And with us is Kent Overstreet. Kent, welcome.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, of course. And so how would you describe yourself for people who might not know who you are?
Where should I start? Whole software engineer, code artist bit. From Alaska. I've been writing code for a very long time. And that's what I'm generally known for. And I've been traveling for about the past 2 years on the road, back and forth across the states, and took my truck down to South America about 6 or 8 months ago. And that's how I ended up here.
Okay. And so now, what stands out to you in your travels in South America?
I fell in love with South America when I first came down a couple of years ago. Did a little bus trip from Santiago, Chile, down to Valparaiso, into Argentina, and up into Paraguay. And I knew I had to come back at some point. So the culture is such a breath of fresh air coming from the States. People are more laid back, less crazy.
I can personally identify with that. I grew up in Boston, but since traveling, it's been like, oh man, it's just, for me, it's nice not to talk about politics. Instead, you just talk about life and food and whatever.
Okay, so you're from the East Coast. I was out in Vermont for about 8 years.
That's a beautiful place.
Yeah.
Yeah. My roommate in college, he's from Vermont. And so I would visit him and his family, and it was always awesome to visit because he would say, oh yeah, you see that mountain way in the distance? This is our land from here to that mountain. And
that's so cool.
It's like, holy crap. Yeah.
And it's just gorgeous there. The trails, the hiking. So you know Burlington?
Not too much. I forget exactly the name of the town where my roommate was from, but it wasn't close enough to Burlington where you would just go on a whim. So I don't think I've ever actually been to Burlington.
I miss the music scene in Burlington. College town, lots of artists and hippies hang out, and just I knew lots of really good musicians there.
Yeah. Do you play music?
Yeah, violin and viola.
Oof. Wow.
Not played in a while though.
Are they hard to travel with?
It's hard to find a spot to play when I'm on the road.
It's like a lot of noise.
Yeah.
That's cool. There's a lot of artists here at the hostel, right? Like musicians.
I've been noticing.
Yeah.
Might get me back into playing again.
Why not? So you don't have an instrument with you?
Well, I've got a viola back in Medellin, but there was a tragic accident with my violin that I love dearly, so I need to get a new one.
Oh. Is it like beyond repair? It's like a replace?
It's gone.
It's always just gone. Okay. That sounds tragic. Let's not get into it. I don't want to get into it.
It's a sad tale.
Oh no. But yeah, there is a bit of a connection between musicians and music, as well as like coding and software.
Oh, there's both such deep fields. I feel like they're two of the only fields I know, that and math, I suppose, where that just feel endless. There's always more to learn and more to do.
I like that a lot. And like language, I don't know, like math, music, language, coding, there's a lot of, I don't know, God in it. I'm big into God.
But for me, it's music. Like music is the closest art form that we have, in my opinion, to communicating in terms of pure emotion, pure feeling.
Right. I like that, communicating emotion. Because it's true. It's like you hear a note and you know, like, oh, that's a happy note or a sad note or
you can convey so much with just the inflection of a single note.
Right.
That's what I love about violin too, just the expressiveness.
Right. Is the violin a hard instrument to keep it in like tip-top shape kind of thing? Like, is there a lot of upkeep and care and maintenance?
Not really. I mean, it depends on how you treat your instrument. Classical orchestral violinist will treat their violin very differently than someone who just busks.
Yeah.
But there are also some like ripping violin players who play in like bands or busking.
Right.
It's just different cultures.
Right. Different cultures. And then what about like the computer you use for your work? Like that is a small computer, like in terms of the screen size. I would expect a coder to have like the 16-inch screen, I don't know.
Oh, I used to do a lot of my coding for years and years on like 30-inch monitors on a desktop.
Right.
I think I got the first 30-inch LCD monitor back in college that was even on the market, and I used that thing for years and years. But laptop screens are so high res now that I don't notice it as much.
So as long as the resolution's good, the actual size itself is like whatever.
Yeah. And my eyes are still good.
That's crucial. Do you use glasses?
Nope.
That's good. That's rare for a coder. So what is a typical coding session like for you, or is there no such thing as typical?
Almost no such thing.
Yeah.
I am very independent in my work. Never really have a fixed schedule. If I'm deep into a project, then I may pull multiple 14-hour days for like a week or a month straight if it's a big enough project. Because once you've got something in your head, you've really thought all that through and how it all fits together. You don't want to lose that context. You just want to get it out.
Yeah.
But a lot of the time it's more laid back. Like over the past 2 years, I've been doing a lot of just debugging and responding to issues one at a time. And none of them are particularly hard. It's just a lot. So I plow through it as I can, as I have the energy. And if I feel exhausted on a day, I'll just take off. And
right. Cool. And so like you just mentioned, there was coding. It sounded like you were talking about getting into like a flow state, right? Like when you see everything all at once.
Flow states are fun.
It's like that meme with the math equations, that woman who's like seeing all the math equations in the air, like floating around.
I don't think I've seen that one, but I know the feeling.
Yeah. And so there's that element of coding. Then you said there's debugging. Is there a favorite part of coding that you like, or kind of all of it is fascinating to you?
Oh, I love when I get into a new project and it just comes together, like doing one moderate-sized, self-contained, clean, beautiful thing and seeing it through to completion. It's always less fun when things just kind of end up more messy or never ending, but as long as you can like see it flowing towards a better state or some end goal, like seeing the structure come out. A lot of programming for me is the process of like discovering the structure of the problem.
Right.
You never know what it's going to be going in. You just attack it bit by bit and figure out how to solve bigger bits. And sometimes you'll figure out something else that kind of changes the whole structure, and you see a better way, so you have to backtrack. But when you can see the code getting clearer and more understandable and easier to work with over time, that's a good feeling.
Right. Yeah. Is there a sweet spot in terms of number of people involved in a project?
Interesting question. I'm kind of famous for being a one-man show, which is not entirely true. My project, I've been writing a new file system for the kernel, as I mentioned earlier. I've been doing it for like 15 years. And I'm at the point where I can comfortably say that I have outdone everyone else. And file systems are normally and always have been massive team efforts.
So there's a benefit to having a one-man show.
Yeah, you end up with a more coherent vision. Like if it helps if you feel like you're responsible for everything. You won't be afraid to like go through and do the cleanups or do the hardening, stuff that might be a bunch of grunt work that normally in a team it would be hard to get anyone to do. If you know that you're going to be on the hook for that, if it's going to make your life easier years down the line.
Right.
As long as you can take things slowly and patiently, there isn't really any limit to what one person can do.
Right. Have you ever had to kill your own baby, delete a bunch of code that you loved?
I'm sure it's happened in small cases, but nothing really comes to mind. I've been fortunate in feeling like almost, I guess, prescient in my sense of architecture and design, just a sixth sense for it. That's going to be useful. I'm not sure exactly how it's going to be useful, and things seem to work out pretty well.
Right.
I've the code base that I'm working on now. It's a direct continuation of stuff that I started getting close to 20 years ago. And the core of that, the stuff that I did like in my mid 20s, like the core lookup code, it's still there, still in use, hasn't changed much, and has never been outdone. That's freaking cool.
Yeah. And so this is in the Linux project.
Yes.
Okay, so for people who might not know what Linux is, give us the 2 sentences.
Oh, 2 sentences. I can't do it in 2 sentences.
4.
No, I got to talk about the whole history of it. Linux came out of multiple traditions. There was Unix that goes back to the early 70s, which was a reaction to a big operating system project in the 60s called Multics, which was big and ambitious, done by like Bell Labs and Honeywell and others. And a couple of guys with a couple of cast off like PDP-10s decided they needed a much simpler operating system that they could just use to get stuff done. And they used it for like writing up documents and writing and playing games on. That was Unix. Just a couple of guys in a server room. And Unix grew up to be the dominant like server operating system. But for decades, all the Unices it split off into multiple variants, were proprietary. And then back in the 80s, Richard Stallman of MIT started the free software movement. I don't know how many people know that these days. He's pointing out that code is way better when it's free. When you can share it, build off of each other's work, when it's not locked up at any one company and will die with that company. And he made a social movement out of it, starting out small, just writing the user space utilities, re-implementing Unix from scratch bit by bit. Then in the early 90s, Linus Torvalds started his project, the kernel. That's where we get the name Linux. And that finished off a free re-implementation of Unix. And that's gradually gotten bigger and bigger and bigger until it's taken over basically everything.
Right.
Linux runs everywhere today. It runs like all the backend server stuff by default runs Linux. Anything that doesn't is a rounding error. It's used in embedded stuff all over the place. Cars these days, a lot of them run Linux. You probably have a couple instances of Linux running around your house. It's running in space and satellites. My code is running on Mars, and the robots crawling around on Mars. Like, how cool is that?
Right.
So it's turned into this massive thing. It's snowballed.
Right. Okay. What is your opinion on open source software?
I'm in engineering for like the purity of it. I love the feeling of just writing the best code I can. And open source lets me do that.
Right.
It lets us all share our ideas openly and build off of each other's work, and stuff doesn't get locked up or hidden like proprietary code. Like if it's Windows, you can't peer under the hood of Windows and see how the code is written or what it's doing. It's not really your computer. You can't control it past a certain point. With Linux, anyone can mess around with it.
Right.
Open source. I love that about it. I love just letting the best code win.
Right. And if it's free, I mean, Now, Ubuntu, is that Linux?
Yes.
Okay, that's like an operating system for a personal computer.
It's a distribution that's an offshoot of Debian.
Okay. Okay, cool. I've like toyed around with Ubuntu a little while ago, and it was fun. It was cute. Okay, so now you're here at Casa Kayam, an artist residency hostel. How long have you been here?
Oh, just a couple days.
Okay, cool. Okay. And what are your thoughts, impressions, experience?
Oh, some friends I made at a hostel up in Cartagena right when I got to Colombia told me about this place and recommended it, and it's cool.
Cool.
I love places like this. Just we're getting to hang interesting people, good conversation, art being made. What more could you want in life?
Right. That part interests me as well, the art being made. Do you do other forms of art, more visual art?
No, I never got into that. I would love to someday, but that's a whole nother skill set. Uh, my ex-girlfriends from way back was an oil painter. She could talk endlessly about it. It's like learning a different way of seeing things to learn how to paint. And like our brains natively like abstract. When you see a chair, you don't see all the things that make up the chair. Your like visual system immediately processes that into a symbol for chair. So learning how to work backwards through all the processing that your brain is doing and actually be conscious of all those little relationships.
Like lighting,
It's so
shading,
cool. Yeah.
color, and
Yeah.
all that.
I know what that feels like for music and learning how to hear things, but I have not even delved into that for the visual arts.
Me neither, actually. Like, my art is more, I like digital art, so like making videos and things like that, recording, stuff like this. I like kind of the digital art, but the visual, it's a whole different beast. It's more physical. It takes up more space, more time.
Music is fun enough, like learning to hear the sound of like a filter opening up and the band gap opening and electronic music. That's so cool.
Right.
Or learning the subtle differences between different chords and seeing how they're used, or like an A major arpeggio in Bach at just the right moment.
The emotion of it.
Yes.
Yeah. And so what's the music scene like in Medellin?
Oh, I've been too busy working to dive into it.
How long have you been living there?
About 6 months.
Okay. So it's like somewhat new.
Yeah, I've been out a bit, but I haven't really delved in to find the scene.
Yeah. What neighborhood are you in?
Right now, I'm in Estadio.
Oh, I don't know that one. Okay.
More or less.
Near the stadium, I'm assuming.
Yeah,
Estadio. Okay, cool.
And I was in El Poblado for a good while.
Yeah.
Nice place, but a little bit touristy. So.
Yeah, a little loud too in parts, eh? Even at like late at night, it's not a place to sleep.
Depending on what specific part of Poblado.
Yeah. I was near this like beautiful river walk. I was staying in a hostel and like you just leave.
Oh, I think I know the place. Yeah.
It's so nice. It's like you feel like you're in the middle of a jungle in the middle of a city.
Yeah.
So you get both, you know, right there.
So much naturaleza in Medellin.
Yeah, it's really beautiful. It's like, plus the weather for me. I mean, I grew up in Boston, so snow. You growing up in Alaska can identify, right? Yeah. And then I was living in a beach town, and so that was like the other extreme of the temperature scale. And now I'm here in Colombia because I'm like looking for that middle ground, like Goldilocks zone.
Yeah, it's nice here.
I want to talk about hacking.
Okay. What about it? What's your impressions or definition of hacking?
Impression and definition. It's like, well, it's about gaining access to a private space that normally you're not typically allowed to have access to because it's supposed to be for one person to do one thing.
You know, that isn't the original sense of the word hacking.
Yeah.
Do you know where it comes from?
No.
MIT Model Railroad Club. Like even before, like hacking wasn't even originally about computers. It goes back to late 60s, early 70s when the nerds would get super into their model railroads and like all the switch gear and all the things that you could automate. It was more electronics people doing it back then. The sense of like breaking into things, that came much later. I've never done much of that variety of hacking except for maybe a bit in like high school.
Nice. Yeah. It's a big thing. Like there's just like, I feel like in the news, for example, there's a story about this system getting hacked, this
it's just
municipality
dramatic.
Or this building or
people
whatever.
Are always looking for drama and clicks.
Yeah, true.
But it's not that big of an effect on the world. Security is always improving. Languages that we write code in are getting better. Techniques are getting better. It's something to be aware of. Like I'm more on the side of building things. I have to know how to build things that are secure, that people can't break into. But I don't think about it too much aside from that.
Right.
Aside from like
Because it's on the network side too, right? So it's like one level.
No, it's not just
Yeah.
the network side. Any code that runs in a privileged context or deals with untrusted data, security is an issue for.
Right.
So in the operating system kernel, it is something I definitely have to be aware of. But it's not at the forefront of my thinking on a day-to-day basis.
Okay. And so you've got this big file system project. What is the roadmap? What does the runway look like?
Oh, well, that's a little bit up in the air right now. I'm really just trying to get something solid and reliable and robust and trustworthy out there. File systems are not supposed to be exciting things. They're supposed to be things that just work.
Right.
The base technology that we all depend on, you shouldn't have to think about it. It should just work. If you're having to think about it, it means it broke.
Right. But people think about it.
Well, people who are interested in that stuff do get excited about it. I get excited about it naturally. But the big goal is really just to get something trustworthy out there, because we have not had that in Linux. Linux's track record on file systems is rather spotty. We had like ext4, the homegrown, normal Unix drive file system for years and years that it has a whole lineage. There's XFS from SGI, which in my opinion is the only Linux file system developed by actual professionals. XFS is good, but it's still the same feature set as the old school Unix file systems. Then, outside of Linux, Sun Microsystems came out with a file system called ZFS, which is the first of the modern file systems. Showed what kind of feature set, kind of demonstrated a new level of features and integrity and reliability, and wrote like good papers, educated the whole file system community on what could be done and why users would want this, and set a new standard. And then Linux had Btrfs, which was supposed to be Linux's answer to ZFS, but it never really delivered on the whole reliability angle for a whole bunch of reasons that I'm not going to get into. It never acquired the level of trustworthiness that, say, ZFS has. And so that's Bcachefs's big reason for existence.
Right.
Rock solid reliability. I like to say about my code, you can metaphorically light your file system on fire, and it does not matter. I do not care what broke or why it broke. If there's anything on there to recover, a code should automatically, without any user intervention, without any fuss, get your data back. Get whatever data is still on there back and in a working state, and get you a working file system again.
It's like auto repair. Would you use that term?
There's a lot of self-healing, we call it.
Self-healing.
Yeah. We do a lot of that these days. Incrementally. Self-healing is a very ambitious thing. There's a lot of ways it can go awry. So you don't want to do it all at once, but that's something that we've been incrementally doing more and more and more of.
Yeah. Well, I like that you're thinking about it from the end user standpoint. It's like, well, what does somebody want from a file system? I want my files. I don't want to have to think about access to them or whether the disk, needs a repair or this, that, the other. That's it.
Yeah.
Simple.
Yeah. And more than that, it also improves a lot of the management side of things from ZFS and Btrfs. It's very seamless and smooth.
Does that mean, in terms of management, does that mean like fragmentation or?
No, like multi-device is a big one. Modern file systems can span multiple devices and have redundancy built in. So you can have like 5 or 6 drives in a file system and have it set up with 2x redundancy. So you can lose any one of those devices and it'll just handle it.
Yeah.
ZFS has that, Btrfs has that, Bcachefs has it without all the corner cases that Btrfs has, and it's a lot more smoother and seamless and easier than ZFS.
Right.
It's more dynamic internally, which means there's fewer things to think about ahead of time than with ZFS.
Okay. I love it. And so you mentioned your code is on Mars.
Yep.
Do you want to go to Mars?
Maybe someday. Yeah.
It would be cool.
I'd definitely love to go into space.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, there's the whole AI stuff coming out, and biology research is proceeding faster and faster. Maybe life extension technology will happen in our lifetimes, and then if we get another 100 years or whatever, then hell yeah, I'm going into space.
Right. For me, it would be like a stasis. Like if you could put me under and then I kind of wake up after a nice big nap and then I'm in Mars. Cool.
Oh, I just want my own space habitat.
Yeah.
Just like a big cylinder.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
blast you off.
No, it'd have to be built in orbit.
Right.
Get like a nickel iron asteroid, melt it. People are doing cool stuff with 3D printing and 3D printing entire like rocket, the external body.
Wow.
What they're doing is using a MIG welder, like laying down a bead, feeding in MIG wire as a 3D printer. And they solved all the problems to there's warping and stuff when you're doing it that way. And there's a startup that's actually making it work. And if you can do that for a rocket cylinder, just MIG welder as a 3D printer, then you could scale that up arbitrarily if you've got the time.
Right. Wow. The world is changing. It's
Yeah.
taking time. It's always going to take some time. Like I don't know, for some reason my mind is going to fusion.
Fusion would be cool to see. I wonder if that will pan out.
Right. What do you think of Nikola Tesla?
Oh, an interesting guy. Very ahead of his time.
Yeah. Do you think he had the ability to create free energy from the air?
No.
Ah.
The thing that he was actually working on is wireless power transfer.
Tesla coil? Is that the same thing?
Related. But I am not enough of an E&M physicist to be able to comment on those ideas if they were actually practical.
Right. Okay. That's awesome. What did we not cover? We covered remote working. Because you're working from here, yeah?
Yeah.
Cool.
I work I'm working all the time wherever I am. Yeah, my truck's got a Starlink on the roof, and I got some solar panels and a battery and alternator charging, so I can be very self-sufficient. I can head off into a national park for a couple weeks and relax, hike, write code.
Right. There's some here in Colombia. There's some beautiful parks.
I was down at Nevado del Ruiz.
Okay.
That's gorgeous up there.
What kind of ambiance is it like? More jungle or?
No, it's a really tall volcano. It's the deadliest volcano in the last 100 years.
Ooh.
It's got a glacier on the top too.
What the hell?
You can't go up and see the glacier right now because volcanic activity is a little bit on the rise. It's not safe to go that close. But I went up pretty far to where it looks like a moonscape.
Wow. Song of Fire and Ice. So you've been here at Casa Kayem for a few days. You're part of the Linux community. I just wanted to ask in general, what are your thoughts on community, digital, in real life?
Many thoughts on community. Where should we start? I mean, the Linux kernel community is what I think about the most. And, it is a community and always has been. It's not organized on business or capitalist lines, which I love. I would love to dial back the level of capitalism in the world a bit. People collaborate because it's beneficial to collaborate. It's an ecosystem.
It's an entity. It's a spirit. Linux is it's many things, right? It's it's a goal, it's a vision, it's a way of it's a belief, it's ideals, it's values.
At its best, it's people just contributing to a common cause because we all want to see the world be a little bit of a better place. We want the technology we all rely on to be a little bit better and a little bit smoother and more reliable and easier to work with.
Yeah. You know, I'm here in Colombia. My parents are outside of Boston. I get to pick up my phone and call them. Like that's, uh, and the cost is very, very little.
Yeah,
you know,
yeah,
technology, the little bit of electricity, some internet, and
yeah.
connection.
The
Yeah.
whole internet, that's also a community. All the people who make that work.
Mm-hmm.
There's no real centralized control structures for the internet.
Mm.
It's just different network operators plugging into each other's networks, and sometimes money changes hands, sometimes it doesn't.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, the people, the engineers working on like the routing tables, the DNS,
Mm-hmm.
they're in it because the world needs this stuff.
Right. So you're more for decentralized versus
Yes.
centralized. Yeah.
I am an anarchist at heart.
Oh, me too. I think people hear anarchy and they think, well, how would it work without the government? And it's like, I go to the other extreme.
Interesting question.
Right.
What a topic to jump off on.
But I have a story about this. I was in Nepal and we were on a bus and the bridge just went out for some rainstorm or whatever. So what happened? The bus driver pulls over, makes a call. Next thing you know, locals come down the mountain and repair the road.
I love that.
And then off we go.
Yeah.
It took 2 hours.
And it's so antithetical to like the Western mindset, especially the States,
Mm.
where it's like everyone has a job and everything is so hyper professionalized. It's like people assume that if you weren't trained for a specific job, then you can't and shouldn't be doing it. You should leave it up to the experts. And it's like, no, we can just do things.
Yeah.
We can learn what we need to know and continuously improve our skills. And
Yeah. Be Renaissance men,
yes.
right? Yeah, I'm with you on that. Well, then, like, juxtapose that story of Nepal and the road repair with my hometown. I'm not going to name it, but there was a little bridge. Okay, it had always been there, and they decided we need to redo this bridge. It's not safe or whatever. 10 years later, the bridge is finally built.
Typical,
because the government changes hands and new administration, and you need to redo the science survey because time has elapsed, and it's like, oh my god.
And so many people in the States don't travel anymore. They have no idea how dysfunctional it is compared to the rest of the world.
Exactly.
It's like back in the 1800s, people in the States used to travel.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But at some point we became sedentary,
right,
lazy.
Or like, I get the argument that there's so much to see in the US because it's so big. I get that.
But there's a whole world out there.
There's a whole world out there. Exactly. Yeah. I'm with you on the anarchy. Love it. Love it. It's just, there's always going to be corruption, and government is always going to attract a certain type of person who wants those leadership roles.
Yeah.
And the word for that is psychopath. Like,
or narcissist.
It's just, that's what it is. It's that Machiavellian,
and the best antidote to that is dial back the complexity, dial back the scale of things.
Right.
And dial up the community aspect.
Totally.
Allow more time and space for empathy, getting to know each other.
Yeah. Self-sufficiency, but also collective group effort. And there's a lot of analogies that you can draw between an open source community like Linux and a system of government, or maybe lack thereof, or just a system of being and living.
That touches on an interesting topic because as things do get bigger and more complicated, at some point you do need some kind of organizational structure, and we call those governments.
Right.
And there's interesting life cycles to governments throughout history. The cycle has been repeated many times. You can see it even in the modern day, where governments have been become weak or taken down, or like places like Somalia or parts of Italy. You get warlords taking over, the mafia in Italy. Or even to some degree in New York back in the 70s or earlier, at the height of the mafia, whenever there's a power vacuum, some group will arise to fill that vacuum.
Yep.
And initially, they will always be overly violent, psychopaths, but they exist because they're serving some necessary function in that society.
Mm.
Like, there are points in New York where the mafia was the reason the trash got picked up,
Yes.
taken away.
Yeah. Or the mafia is the reason buildings get built. Or
Yep.
in South America or even Central America, the cartels, right? They're the ones who are funding like school sports. They're the
Yep.
ones maintaining the stadiums so that kids have a place to play.
Classic. Yeah. And then the life cycle is that as this goes on, if the warlords, if things come to a stable situation and they aren't getting knocked off by like a real government, then eventually they become domesticated. They become a normal power structure like anyone else.
Right.
Uh,
I think things tend to gravitate towards emergence, right? So we're talking about open source as an example. It does gravitate towards an emergence of some sort of central organization, central figure. Like I don't know you very well, but and I did do a little bit of Googling. You're sort of a central figure in Linux, yeah? Like you could say that.
a bit of an infamous figure at the moment.
There it is.
Yeah.
Well, you're passionate.
Yes, I'm very passionate about getting things done right, making sure that, like, we're in Linux to make sure that things work, to deliver code that people can rely on. And that's been falling by the wayside a little bit.
Mm.
So someone's got to be the one to say, these are our priorities. Our priorities are shipping code that works.
Mm. It reminds me of just having a values-based thing. Like that to me is the trick to organization. Like,
yes,
right? Like government works when it can describe a list of values and everyone kind of agrees.
100%.
Right? Yeah.
And I think that's where things have gotten a little bit lost in the Linux
everywhere.
Yeah.
Because as above, so below. And like, I don't know, I personally feel it in my life. It's like, I don't see governments having the same values now that was maybe originally.
Totally.
Right? And it's the same thing in, like you're saying, Linux. It's the same thing in.
I think you could make a direct
anywhere.
analogy to like when things were most functional in the U.S. was World War II and post-war era.
Oh, totally.
We had a purpose.
It was the golden age, right?
Yeah.
And then the U.S. was the only kind of big power that wasn't physically like destroyed. So the U.S. had a huge leg up. No, I haven't lived in the U.S. since 2016. I moved out.
Okay.
I said I don't like what I see. I don't like where I don't feel connected to the original values, and I don't see the values of the U.S. being actually lived.
I think the U.S. is having a moment. Like Europe went through this too.
Yeah.
200 years ago. Like income inequality in the U.S. is worse than it was in France right before the French Revolution.
Ooh, the guillotine. Oops. Do you see the concept of money changing then in order to
not money as a concept, but maybe like you see this in South America. It's just not so present as an omnipresent organizing force that everyone cares about.
Yeah, it's kind of secondary, isn't it?
Yeah, just dial back the influence a little bit. The stock market is a little bit too important in the U.S.
Mm-hmm. So much is kind of tied to that.
Yeah.
That's the system. And then the whole stock market, that's kind of tied to traditionally oil. It's like oil, those companies have always been the richest and everything just followed off of that.
The Dow 500 and it can turn into a bubble eventually.
Right. Do you do, I hope this is okay to ask, do you do like stock trading?
No.
Like day trading?
No. No interest.
No. Do you do investing?
I prefer to think about money as little as possible. It's like it was a source of stress in my life growing up, and now I'm quite content to just try to have enough of a difference between my actual income and expenses that I don't have to think about it. I can just live my life, focus on writing code.
Yep. Do you automate your finances then? Auto pay? No?
I mean, I guess some auto pay.
Yeah.
But really my defining goal with money is just to think about it as little as possible.
I hear you on that for sure. Yep. What do you think about Bitcoin and crypto?
The thing about Bitcoin is that they got it wrong. They designed it wrong. By building into the system a fixed number of Bitcoins that there would ever be, that makes it deflationary. And you do not want currencies to be deflationary because that encourages hoarding.
Right.
Money needs to be liquid. It needs to be worth exchanging.
It's like they kind of designed it in both ways, because for right now, until all of the Bitcoin are mined, it is inflationary, but then you're right, it'll stop.
No, all the Bitcoins that have ever been mined have already been mined.
Oh, I thought there was like 21 million. And
No,
I didn't think they were all mined yet.
No, we crossed that point, I think, years ago.
Oh, wow.
So that's why you see the price going up and up and up with these giant drops, and it keeps going up again, and it causes all kinds of problems.
I think someone created Bitcoin because they were a day trader and they didn't like that day trading has limited trading windows. And so they were like, let's create something that'll have, you can do it whenever, you could trade whenever.
No, Bitcoin was created by a hardcore old school programmer. Like anyone else would have put their name on it.
What's his name? Satoshi Nakamoto?
Yeah.
Something like that.
Yeah.
His pen name? I thought it was Elon Musk.
No.
He created PayPal.
No.
He was a founder.
People mythologize that guy too much. People mythologize everyone.
Yeah, and at the end of the day, he's just a human who likes to do ketamine.
Oh my God, ketamine is so boring.
Is it?
Yeah.
I've never done it.
Yeah, you're not missing much.
Okay. Yeah. All right, man, what haven't we talked about? Food. Food in Colombia.
Oh, yes.
Not my favorite cuisine.
I like the food in Mexico better, to be honest.
Agree. I mean, I lived there 5 years. I just like how they have a salsa for everything. Breakfast, they're going to give you a salsa. Lunch, you're going to get a salsa. Dinner, you're going to get salsa.
The greasy street tacos, just driving through the country, and any rest stop, you'll find someone with a little stand making the best tacos anywhere.
Everywhere, yeah.
Yeah.
I would always say that. I'm like, the best tacos in Mexico are always the taco stand that's closest to your house or hostel or wherever you are.
Oh, they understand their tacos.
Yeah.
I was making tacos back in Vermont because I used to live in the Bay Area, which also has really, really good taquerias done by migrants from Mexico. Me and my friend after work would just get a whole plates of these $1.50 each tacos and gorge ourselves after work.
Yep.
So when I moved back to Alaska, I had to learn how to make carnitas. Spent a good amount of time perfecting that. Then my own tortillas. And then I moved out to Vermont. I found out you can just buy like 50-pound bags of heirloom blue corn from Mexico and nixtamalize it yourself.
Yeah.
And then grind it yourself. And that's next level.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, my God. Oh, my God. I miss doing that.
That's the way to do it. You like cooking then?
Yeah.
Me too.
Yeah.
I like to cook. That's what I like about here is they have a kitchen that's like free, free use for everybody.
Oh, I can't wait for that grill. I'll meet their grilling too.
I think that it should be ready soon. I feel like they wanted a noon start time. I feel like that might be a little delayed, but that's good for us for this episode.
I'm getting hungry. I don't know about you.
We can cap it here and go check on some food. I think we've touched upon. Is there anything that you wanted to talk about that we didn't really touch upon yet?
Let's give it a break.
Okay. And, let's see.
There's other things we could delve into if we want.
Okay, cool.
Or we could just gorge ourselves on food.
Let's do that. We'll do a part 2 if it's called for, eh?
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, Kent Overstreet, it was awesome interviewing you. Thank you for being open to discussing.
Pleasure.
Yeah. Let's eat. Ciao. Ciao.